Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, along with Drs. Jim and Janine Fox from Doctor's Nutrition, located on Callan Lorraine Road in Gulfport, south of Pass Road. We do this every Monday morning. It is a live show, and we invite you to call in and ask questions regarding the topic that we've chosen for today, or anything regarding health, because this show is about trying to help you lead a healthier lifestyle. Our phone numbers are 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. So call in and pass the question along to our producer, and we'll pass the question, and we'll try to do the best we can to answer it.
We'll try.
We'll try. Anyway, this morning we're talking about autoimmune disease. We haven't talked about this subject in quite a while now.
It's been a while.
So what exactly is autoimmune disease?
Well, autoimmune disease is when the body turns on itself, basically. I mean, theoretically, that's the thing. In other words, the body starts attacking its own tissues for whatever reason. And there's a lot of them that, pretty much most people know about the common ones like lupus, Sjogren's, rheumatoid arthritis, but there's a whole host of other ones. And that's kind of what we want to talk about today, some of the other things. Those are the common, what we call the usual suspects, rheumatoid, lupus, et cetera. But then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that classifies as that autoimmune type reaction.
Are there that many different types of autoimmune disease?
Oh, there is. There's, we actually see a lot that come in. We have the autoimmune hepatitis, which is one that people don't think about. There's Sjogren's.
Mm-hmm.
There's MS. Multiple sclerosis is actually classified as autoimmune.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one that you see tons is the thyroid autoimmune, which is Hashimoto's. So we see that one constantly.
Very common.
So people don't even think about that. A lot of them being autoimmune. They think about the rheumatoid and the lupus, and there's mixed connective tissue disorder. There's Crest syndrome. There's actually Guillain-Barré syndrome. They think is classified as that. You're seeing there's actually neurological problems that they're classifying as autoimmune. And there's actually, I believe, and I've always said this, there's autoimmune diseases that's never been named.
Yeah.
There's people that fall into the category of autoimmune because everything that you see, the inflammation markers, you see everything else, but yet they don't test positive for any of the known ones.
I was reading, when I was doing a little research this morning, I was reading there's like over 80 different autoimmune diseases.
There's a lot, and the sad thing about it is probably even more than that. But the sad part about it is a lot of times, if you go to your family doc or whatever, they'll check in, they'll do an ANA, which is an antinuclear antibody. That's the kind of the most, that and a rheumatoid arthritis, those are the two tests that they typically do. They're very common. And if you say, well, okay, if I got an autoimmune problem, they'll check those two and say, no, you're okay. Well, there's a whole host of other things it could be, like the Hashimoto's thing for the thyroid. And we see a boatload of that one.
Yeah.
People have that one constantly. I mean, it's amazing. And there's so many others. And people have, things like brain fog. Now, brain fog. A lot of people got foggy brain, but a lot of.
I thought I was just getting old.
No. Well, maybe that too. No, that's not it. But the thing about it is something that common, and if it's something that's long term with that person, that could very well be some sort of autoimmune difficulty too. Mm-hmm. And things like Raynaud's. I don't know how many of you out there have Raynaud's, but I do. And it's really it's weird.
What is Raynaud's?
Raynaud's is when you when a lot of times cold.
Yeah.
Triggers it, but like parts of his hand will get completely white. It'll be where it's completely no circulation.
The rest of it will be blood red.
Right.
And I mean, it's kind of weird. I can pick up a cold drink, especially in wintertime, bad. Summertime, even, a cold brewski, I just don't dip my hand in the water to get it out. I don't drink beer anyhow, but or a cold drink of any kind in a cooler. I kind of I'll fish around there and get that thing where I can get it out, because I know if I stick my hand in that water, it's gonna react.
It'd be painful.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is painful.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. Let's put it that way. And so that's one, and we see a lot of people with Raynaud's.
Yeah, we do.
But they're classifying it as an autoimmune type reaction. Don't know why. Etiology unknown, as we say in medicine. That means we don't know what the heck happens. We don't know where it comes from. Your guess is as good as mine, kind of thing. But etiology unknown.
What can trigger an autoimmune disease?
Actually, the most common things that they say is infection.
Like a virus.
A virus and bacteria are the two that's been looked at most in medicine.
And probably some parasites. There's been
I
a little
think
bit of
parasites and actually fungus. I mean, if you look at it, that is probably one of your biggest triggers is something like that. But actually, environmental toxins has been shown to trigger it. Trauma triggers it a lot of times, where there might even be something there, but they even know. Viruses that are hidden in your body that stay dormant tend to come out after trauma or being stressed and run down.
Think about shingles.
Yep.
Okay, now shingles is not autoimmune.
It's not autoimmune.
But just think about something like that. You've got that virus, it's in you. It's quiet. Your immune system keeps it under control. But then something happens, trauma, whatever, and then boom, you got shingles.
And they have found genetics to also be a thing in autoimmune problems that it can run in families. But then when you really start getting into genetics, they've actually found that some viruses can become part of your DNA, and that can actually be genetically inherited.
See that?
So there's a lot, but that's kind of the most common things that tend to trigger.
Yeah, when I first got interested in genetics, probably 15, 18 years ago, something like that, you started reading about it, and you look at, and when they were at that time, they had just kind of finished up getting the genome mapped out, and the computers were telling me, well, that little snippet of DNA there, that's such and such a virus, or that other one is such and such a virus, or we have so that's part of our DNA. Now we have, suppressor genes on either side of it, hopefully, that kind of keep it suppressed, don't let it manifest, but at the same time, things can happen, and maybe some of these environmental toxins that do something to your suppressor genes, and if you don't have that suppressor gene working just right, all of a sudden that stuff says, hey, I think I'll jump in and do something, and here it goes. And so it's real. They're opportunistic, so bad stuff to have. I mean, it's really aggravating because so many people have these problems. They get overlooked. Oh, here's here's an antidepressant, and well, they may be depressed, but it's not what the problem is. There's something causing it.
Yeah, and your body shouldn't turn on itself. So usually, I believe there is something there underlying that the body's trying to attack, and it makes sense. The body's immune system is supposed to attack these foreign things, and when it attacks them and they're part of you, it attacks you instead.
Right.
All right.
So yeah.
896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. We're talking about autoimmune disease. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how serious an autoimmune disease can be. So give us a call if you have a question. We'll be right back. And welcome back. We're talking about autoimmune disease this morning. Our phone lines are open at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. It's 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. What are common symptoms of autoimmune disease?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Well, that's today's show.
Yeah, that's today's show. Almost any symptom can be. I mean, and that's the.
But one of the big things, a lot of time, now it depends. Now with some of the organ problems, no, there's not as much joint pain, but a lot of the common autoimmune problems have joint pain.
Muscles.
Muscles and joints hurt. They tend to be fatigued, brain fog, and the fatigue is a big one because people just say, I just don't feel good. I mean, you hear that a lot, not feeling well. And like I said, it depends on what's going on. You can get actually some pretty severe symptoms depending on what is going on. But all autoimmune diseases are inflammatory.
Yes.
So anytime you get inflammation, everybody knows that kind of tends to cause pain. So that's kind of one of the things that you do look for: pain, fatigue, brain fog, things like that.
And and medically, that's why a lot of times your doc will say, well, okay, something's going on, and they'll prescribe a steroid. Well, steroids are good because they'll knock that inflammation down, but it's not something you got to do the rest of your life.
Yeah, staying on steroids long term causes a lot of problems in themselves.
Right.
So, but it does actually knock down the immune system.
Right.
Steroids tend to lower the immune system. And when you stop the immune system from functioning as well and lower it, it doesn't attack itself as much. So then the symptoms are better.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not necessarily a fix.
It's
a short-term relief of symptoms, I should say.
Well, how serious can an autoimmune disease be?
Well, if you get something like autoimmune hepatitis, it's pretty doggone serious.
And actually, lupus can affect the kidneys. Now, a lot of lupus does not. We see tons of people with lupus. That's a very common one. And you see a lot of people that don't have the organ involvement. But if you start getting organ involvement in any of these autoimmune problems, if you think about it, I mean, kidney failure is pretty serious. Liver failure is pretty serious. So you can actually get the organs involved to where it gets pretty serious. Now, like with the thyroid, which we see constantly, you know, you get people that then, you know, they start having all the thyroid symptoms, because if your own body attacks the thyroid, then you start having all your thyroid issues. And sometimes it can affect the actual thyroid hormones, which then in turn can make you have, you know, weight gain and hair loss and fatigue and pain. And, you know, I mean, you have all kind of stuff with that one. So it really, there's a lot of things that can go on. So it can be serious or it can be mild. We see a lot of people that's mild. A lot of people can control their autoimmune problems with just the natural supplements by itself. Some of the medications used are the immunosuppressants, which in turn can have a lot of side effects on suppressing your immune system to the point of increasing infection or even cancers. And we see that. So if it's mild, a lot of times the doctors will tell people, actually my cousin that's a rheumatologist says, if it's mild, they shouldn't go on some of the immunosuppressants. The drug is worse than the problem. So, and she's a researcher. She's one we've talked about before that, you know, did talk, you know, her recent study on ginger being preventative because of the anti-inflammatory effects of ginger. So there's a lot of things, and she's done some stuff on omega-3s being preventative for autoimmune. So there's some things like that that you can do, but you got to look at the severity of the problem. If somebody, if the organs are shutting down, you definitely want to do the drugs that actually help with suppressing.
And I was going to ask. I mean, if it goes untreated, can an autoimmune disease be fatal?
Oh yeah, certain ones. I mean, certain ones.
I mean, if your organs start shutting down.
Well, that definitely is. Well, that's definitely not good.
No.
So autoimmune can be anywhere from mild to very severe.
Exactly.
And we see a lot of the ones that can be treated with supplements are usually tend to be mild to moderate. The more severe ones definitely need the medications.
So are there natural ways to fight autoimmune disease?
Oh yeah. I mean, we do it. One of our big things we use in almost every type of autoimmune is olive oil. And it's an olive leaf extract. And one of the reasons it works so well is it's antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, and antiparasite. So it suppresses
Whatever you got you.
those critters that might be in you that's causing the problem. So it goes to the cause, but we actually get really good results with olive oil. You don't see as much, I mean, you see some stuff out there about using it autoimmune, but we've just done it for so many years, and that's one of our go-to. But also something like colostrum, which people have probably heard of colostrum when you have a baby. It's the fluid that comes in before the milk, which contain immunoglobulins, and it helps normalize the immune system. It does not boost it. And that is one thing you don't want to do with autoimmune, is necessarily take all these things that boost the immune system, because then it can actually make it attack yourself more. So people always think, oh, I have autoimmune, I'm going to boost my immune system. That's not necessarily what you want. You want things that normalize.
Yeah, make it function properly.
Yes.
That's the key. You know, the theory, and she kind of touched on it, probably 30 years ago when we were kind of new into the functional medicine aspect of it. There was a theory that was being bannered around in the functional medicine group about, you know, if we have a virus or fungus or something else that gets in our tissue, the immune system tries to kill it, like she said. And that's why, you know, well now, you know, in other words, the thought was, well, there's something there that the body's actually trying to get to kill it, rather than just, oh, I think I'll just turn on myself, you know? And because the immune system is not really that stupid. And so, I mean, really. So, but that was 30 years ago. Now, in mainstream research, like her cousin being a rheumatologist and some of the research they're doing, that's exactly what they're finding.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a fungus that's part of this, or there's a virus that's part of this. Now the research is saying,
sometimes even with rheumatoid, if they catch it right when it starts, and they use sometimes antibiotics, it'll stop it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it is, in that case, it would be a bacteria. So it is important that when you start having these symptoms that are new, to do something about it as quick as possible. Because if you can catch something early and do something about it before it gets blown out of, really big, then you can actually stop it in its tracks. And that's kind of why we tell people, if you start having unusual symptoms and you start having all this pain, and pain that travels with autoimmune makes you think you're crazy, because you'll hurt him, your wrist will be killing you like something's going through it, and then all of a sudden it stops and the knee starts. It moves. It's not necessarily that joint itself was hurt. It actually is the autoimmune response is affecting different joints.
Yeah.
So it does act differently than if you sprain your ankle and then your ankle hurts. That's a totally different story.
Yeah, unfortunately, medically they call them vague symptoms.
But they can be weird, because they can be there and then they can be completely gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, it's 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Phone lines are open to you. We have one more segment coming up. It's 17 minutes after 9 o'clock. When we come back, we're going to find out if there are any certain foods that could contribute to autoimmune issues. And we'll also have this week's special. We'll be right back. And welcome back. It's 19 minutes after 9 o'clock. Our phone lines are open at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Let's go ahead and look at what the special of the week is.
Yeah, it's the pain panel, which is normally $225, and it's 35 off, and it's $190. And our olive oil that I talked about a few minutes ago that we use because it is antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antiparasite. Olive oil is also a very good thing to have on hand for the winter coming up, just in case you start getting sick. It's something that you can take just if you start getting sick, start taking some. Yeah. So the good thing about olive oil is pretty much just about everybody can take it. Now on the pain panel, that actually contains a lot of your basic stuff, but it adds ANA, which we talked about. That looks for a lot of the autoimmune positives. A rheumatoid factor. It does do your SED rate and your C-reactive protein, which is your inflammation markers. So if those inflammation markers are greatly elevated, there's a lot of inflammation and something's going on. So that's one that we call our pain panel, because most people come in saying they have pain, just like with autoimmune, but that is our panel to look for autoimmune problems. Now, the one thing that's not on that panel is your antibodies to the thyroid, which you can add those for like $45. And there's tons. When you have, it's a screening. So when you have positives on that, then there is further testing that needs to be done to find out what.
Right.
So there's a lot of other autoimmune testing. It isn't that it contains everything out there, but it's a screening test. So it is your normal screening test for autoimmune. And it also does look for some of the other things that can mimic autoimmune. And so it looks for thyroid problems, it looks for adrenal problems, it looks for nutrient deficiencies. And a lot of those can mimic autoimmune.
Sure can.
So the good things, that's why we like to do it all together, because if people say, oh, well, those are negative, well, what's wrong with me? Well, I don't know, because we didn't do nothing else. So to me, it's always a good idea to do the full thing. That's why we put it in a pain panel.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We talk a lot about how different foods and everything can affect issues that we have. Are there certain foods that can contribute to the problem of autoimmune disease?
There is.
Probably one of the big groups and we always tell people, if you've got any kind of problem like that, inflammatory problems and so on, to kind of leave them alone. That's the nightshades. What we love to eat. The tomatoes, the peppers, the eggplant,
Potatoes.
Potatoes.
Those are nightshades, but there is actually, and like we say on almost every show, no matter what the condition is, get off packaged processed foods.
Yeah,
and
sugar's a big
sugar.
Sugar is a big one that increases inflammation, so that's a big one. And you also, you want to eat as clean as possible and eat organic, because toxins are a trigger, like we said. So you don't want those toxins, and you want real food. And there is a really good diet out there. It is very hard to follow.
Oh, yeah.
Called the AIP diet, which is the autoimmune paleo. And there's no doubt it eliminates all your allergens. It eliminates a lot, because it eliminates a lot. But it is a place to start. It is hard to stay on that forever, because it is very restrictive. But we have people that do very well doing it. So the AIP diet, you can look that up online, and it will tell you kind of guidelines for that.
And another one is the FODMAP, FODMAP. That's another one that's very tough to follow. But if I always say, and most of the people will tell us, look, I hurt bad enough, I'll do anything.
Yeah.
And they're kind of at that point. And if you are, then okay, try it for a little while. Try it for a couple of weeks. And you'll usually see a big difference if
And
you
that-
start changing.
Yeah, and that helps a lot of the gut issues. And the
lot.
gut issues are definitely one of the things that they say is important to help autoimmune.
Right.
You got to get the gut healthy. You know, you got to normalize the immune system. You got to get the gut healthy. You got to get your nutrients optimized. You want optimal health, and you got to get everything else in optimal ranges. And we do help a lot of people that way.
Yeah.
With that, and then some of the, the rheumatoid is one of our most common arthritis, things that we see that's autoimmune. And our Pernimax works wonders for rheumatoid and osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
So Pernimax is a big one, but it's had some good research at Clemson on specifically rheumatoid arthritis and how it downregulates the immune system and makes it actually act more normally. So it's good for joints for anybody, but it really does help those people with RA.
And I can put in a plug for that because I'd had some issues with
Yep.
my hip that started here about a month or so
Works
ago,
really
and I
good.
got on Pernimax, and in a matter of a few weeks, it just
Yeah.
And then we
kicked
have
in, no
all
issues.
your natural anti-inflammatories that we use. I mean, our SPM, you got the curcumins, we got our Phyto-4, we have, there's so many things that can help. We deal a lot with, and like I said, we do base it a lot of times on the lab work to see if you're vitamin D deficient.
Yeah.
I mean, D deficiency actually makes autoimmune worse. Not necessarily it's the cause, but it makes it worse. A B12 deficiency. So we look at deficiencies, we fix all your deficiency, we give you nutrients to help those, and then you work on stuff like inflammation and normalizing the immune system and keeping, making the body work normally, which is what functional medicine is actually restoring normal function.
Exactly.
Yep.
Plain and simple. Pretty
Yep.
simple.
Pretty simple.
Yep.
Say it easy. Sometimes it could be a little more difficult to do, but it's easy to say.
But it will make a tremendous difference. And of course,
Yeah.
I said, trying to, what is it? My mind just went blank. I was thinking
gotta
prevention.
we gotta
Worth a pound of prevention.
Right.
Right.
25 minutes after 9 o'clock, we just have a minute or two left. If you have a question, a couple of minutes left, I was just told, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. And we'll go ahead and mention that we are getting close to the holidays now. I mean, we are like a month away from Thanksgiving, and start worrying about the family coming in or whatever, and then we got Christmas. So next week we're going to talk about something that it's been a while.
Yeah, anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes along. A lot of your people with autoimmune tend to have anxiety and depression because they don't feel good. And it's not necessarily that the depression is causing the problem, but yet the problem is causing the depression. So
Well, if you feel like there's no hope,
Yeah,
if
it gets hard.
You've been to 5 or 6 places, doctors and so on, and they've kind of given you no hope, and well, I don't know what it is, then yeah, that'd make it.
and we tend to be the last resort type place.
Yep.
When we see people, a lot of them already know they have autoimmune. Now we find a lot of autoimmune with our pain panel, but we also have a lot of people that come in that already know that they have it, and they're pretty much at their last straw. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
This is it? I'm giving up after this. And they just can't believe the difference after they start doing the nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you have an autoimmune problem, it's good to do the pain panel to see where's your inflammation markers, where's all your nutrients, where's all the other underlying factors that you have to normalize in order to get healthy again.
That's right, and you might have to take a few different things to do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yes, you might. Yeah.
Because I started on under their direction like 8-9 years ago, and a friend of mine this past weekend saw my little handful that I had. She said, "You take all that?" I said, "Yes," and I tell you what, I've never felt better. Never felt better. All right, so don't forget to tune in next week. Of course, you can find a lot more information if you go to doctorsnutrition.com or also on their Facebook page. They've got a lot of great information there.
And actually,
YouTube.
Go.
YouTube,
This show is on YouTube every week. So if you've missed it, go to YouTube and subscribe.
There you go.
Yeah.
Easy. Anyway, have yourself a wonderful week. We will see you next week on the Doctor's Nutrition Show.
For more information on highlighting your business and services on Healthy Living South Mississippi, contact Jim Tabor at 896-1313.